Long time no see, my friends. This is your friendly neighborhood double RPG here with my next TMNT review for you all. Now, I know it's been a long time since I've done my last TMNT review, but I do have a life and priorities take effect there first before I do this. So for those of you who are waiting for this episode's review, I do apologize, but better late than never, I do assure you that. Anyway, we have another case of filler before the season finale, but it is another fun time to be had. Here is episode 23 for you all, and this one is called Parasitica. Our episode begins with our heroes searching for a Krang hideout during the nighttime, and Mikey ends up getting bored and wanting to shoot the Shellraiser cannons. Leo ends up berating him for why he isn't allowed to do so, and they end up arriving at the Krang lair, with the aliens already defeated by something in which Donnie theorized could actually be an arthropod. Mikey manages to spot a mutant wasp that ends up attacking all of them, with Mikey almost getting the upper hand, but Leo ending up getting stung with the critter dying in the process. After that, they end up finding a wasp egg in which Leo becomes very protective of it, but agrees to take it back to the sewer lair for Donnie to do analysis. Even back at the lair, Leo defends the egg from any harm, whereas the others leave to learn that he has been acting weird ever since he got stung by the wasp. At that time, the venom from the wasp sting starts to transform Leo's mind into a zombified beast. Everyone tries to get Leo to come back by eating Mikey's favorite pizza, watching an episode of Space Heroes, and Michelangelo using Leonardo's favorite comic book as toilet paper?
In the bathroom!
I sometimes forget that there is toilet humor in the show from time to time. Anyway, none of those capture Leo's attention as Raph makes it a mission to destroy the wasp egg during the midnight hours. But too bad for him that he and Leo have a brief scuffle with his infected brother becoming the victor and biting Raph's arm to be a part of the wasp's control. The next morning, Mikey and Dawn find out that Raph ends up on the same boat as his brother by seeing the bite mark on his arm, and the two survivors manage to lock the infected in Donnie's lab. While there is some breathing room to be had by the two, Dawn and Mike learn of the wasp that stung Leo is none other than a mutant version of the parasitic wasp. When a parasitic wasp stings its prey, it will die in the process while the victim watches over its egg. But the prey will end up being food for the newborns. Knowing the fate of their brothers, Leo and Raph manage to break free, with Mikey subduing Leo in the end, while Raph ends up getting away with the wasp egg after being brushed aside. After bringing Leo back into Donnie's workstation, with him briefly regaining his consciousness and going back to being insane, his blood is obtained by Donnie to make the antibody. But Mikey spots a bite mark on his brother's neck. However, Donnie tries to explain to Mikey briefly about how to make the vaccine, even though he doesn't even know how. Or does he? And the tech's scientific savvy ends up being succumbed by the venom in his blood, with him biting the party dude on the arm before being knocked out, and Mikey losing consciousness. Later, Leo, Raph, and Dawn gather together for the baby wasp egg to be hatched, with Mikey joining them only to inject his brothers with the vaccine and saying that he managed to remember everything that Donnie said for him to do. His brothers regain their sanity only for them to be drowsy, and the wasp infant ends up being born as triplets. The critters try to take away Mikey's brothers, but Michelangelo tries to lure them out to the Shellraiser, only to be cornered inside of the ride while Leo and the others come in to lend a helping hand. As the three are back-to-back by the baby wasps, they end up getting destroyed by the Shellraiser's cannons by Mikey. In the end, Raph ends up being shocked that Mikey managed to pull through, Donnie seems to not care since he is way too busy fixing their ride, and Leo becomes angry at his little brother for using the first issue of the Space Heroes comic as toilet paper.
Get some more toilet paper!
Too bad it seems that Mikey always ends up getting on the short end of the stick after standing strong throughout that horror-infested mind blow. Good thing that the brutality doesn't come about, as episode 23 managed to wrap up very nicely. So yeah, Parasitica is another episode that becomes filler, much like Cockroach Terminator, as there are similar plot elements used, only it was more centered around many of the horror movie cliches. Not that it's a bad thing, because it was actually great. Here are some things that I liked about episode 23. First of all, I gotta mention about the horror movie cliches again. They are what made this episode fun. Being infected with the virus meant that the victim becomes zombified, and Leo was the first to go, with his brothers following suit. And even the grotesque mucus in the mouth is a sign of the infection that they receive. Even the idea of Mikey and Dawn trying to subdue their brothers will only get your blood pumping based on the intense situation of what's happening with them. Even the idea of them speaking in that monotone voice near the end, when the parasitic wasp babies are about to hatch, almost makes it seem like something that you would hear from those who have been mind-controlled by aliens. I guess that is why the Krang are here and how they speak, right? Nah, I don't think so. With those cliches out of the way, some of the other good things about the episode is that it's sort of an homage to the 1987 cartoon episode called What's Michelangelo Good For, and the 2003 series Fast Forward episode called The Freaks Come Out at Night, as both of them have minor similarities, like when Donnie said that Mikey is good for something when he was distracting the Wasp at the beginning. Finally, the action when the turtles fought each other when some of them were bitten, or when all of them fought against the Wasp Baby, still gave a great reminder why the action still can give viewers a shell of a good time, if you pardon the pun. Just the choreography when it came from the infected trying to fight, and when they were chasing their victims, just had great chemistry in the animation. I have to say, from that technical standpoint, this episode is probably one of the best in that category next to episode 9 when the turtles fought against Shredhead for the first time. Now that the good is out of the way, it's time to address the episode's only major flaw, the absence of the overarching plots that still need to be addressed. I gotta say that, like with the previous episode, Parasitica not having any involvement in April O'Neil developing her character is a big no-no. Doing stuff outside of the main story when the season is just about to end with a huge climax shouldn't stray away from the serious side, as creating filler near the end of it should come around the beginning or somewhere in the middle. I may have been forgiving with Cockroach Terminator, but that was near the middle. But we are at a point where we're about to see the union between Shredder and the Krang take full effect. Missing many of the overarching plots not being addressed toward the main plotline for Season 1 is a big disappointment. As I said, having a diversionary episode like Parasitica should be around the beginning or near the middle, but doing it near the end of the season should not happen. Other than that, Episode 23 was a nice treat. This episode is the third to be fully centered on Michelangelo, and for this one being filler may not be good if this was aimed for the central storyline, but for this being a side story is appealing on all fronts. Parasitica gets awarded an 8 out of 10. It's a decent episode, as you will love the homage to the horror genre, if you are into that kind of thing. But for those only attached to the main story, don't get your hopes up for something to shatter your mind like Breaking Bad standards. Oh, I'll miss you too, Breaking Bad. You're a great show. With that shameless plug out of the way, that concludes this review of Episode 23 of the Ninja Turtles cartoon on Nickelodeon. Episode 24 is coming up next, as it is called Operation Breakout. This is one that gets back on track with the storyline, and its outcome leading into the season finale is one that you do not want to miss my 2 cents on. Before you go, be sure to rate that video as well as leaving your positive and negative feedback down in the comments. Also hit that subscribe button if you are new to my stuff, and be sure to be on the lookout for more reviews of this show, as well as video game reviews, let's plays, rants, 2 cents videos, and many other things coming from yours truly. This is Double RPG signing off, and be ready for the starting ride leading into the Season 1 finale, next time. Booyakasha, dudes and dudettes! Peace!
Turtle power.